When is an asteroid not an asteroid? When it's a giant spaceship.
It's spinning, as though it's creating artificial gravity.
How to fight invaders from outer space.
The only way to fight against such high tech would be low tech. Small pockets of humanity having a guerrilla war.
And surviving the end of the universe.
This is like the ultimate doomsday prepping. But you're gonna need more than a few cans of beans and some gas masks.
These are NASA's unexplained files. April 2016. NASA's pioneering New Horizons probe reaches the Kuiper Belt, a dark, distant region of space at the edge of our solar system. As the New Horizons probe moves beyond its first target, Pluto, its sensors capture a large object on a mysterious trajectory. Scientists give it an ominous name, Arowan.
Arowan is named after the Celtic god of death, war, terror, revenge. Not a pleasant person, as you can well imagine.
Whatever Arowan is, it's behaving strangely. It seems illuminated, but then it goes dark. It lights up and darkens in a precise rhythm. Scientists realize that this object is rotating.
If it's spinning once every 5.5 hours, that means the front edge is like 50 miles an hour.
So that's like something the size of the state of Delaware completing a full spin in about a quarter of a day.
Scientists expect the Kuiper Belt to be filled with objects made of rock and ice. But Arowan's spin suggests it is made of something else.
Arowan is spinning so fast that the centrifugal force could actually tear it apart. Is it made of something stronger than rock and ice?
New Horizons moves in so its sensors can get a closer look. Whatever Arowan is, we're about to find out. But at the crucial moment, the probe circuits suddenly, inexplicably go dead.
All of a sudden, transmission was cut off. This suggests that someone is monitoring our very presence.
When you're a mission operator, it's really one of the last things that you want to see. You're very concerned that there could be something seriously wrong with your spacecraft, and it's jeopardizing the mission. It does beg the question, is someone or something trying to jam NASA's signal?
Before contact is lost, scientists see that Arowan is spinning in a manner consistent with a large spaceship.
It's spinning as fast as it is, as though it's creating artificial gravity.
Spinning creates an artificial gravity environment within the hollow center of the object, like an inverted planet, with the surface on the inside rather than the outside. NASA recognizes that long-haul space travel will only be possible if we can somehow replicate gravity.
This is not only good to keep you healthy because our body's used to gravity, but also it's just much easier to get things done than if you're not floating around the room.
Analysts compare the mystery object called Arowan with NASA's attempts at recreating gravity in space. These two were based on the concept of a spinning ship.
Engineers, scientists looked at concepts for artificial gravity, gigantic structures in space, spinning around, where on the outer edges you had forests, you had cities, you had places where people could live.
In the 1960s, NASA begins ground-based experiments on artificial gravity, building a huge research facility at Langley. Its centerpiece is a space station-scale spinning rig designed for human guinea pigs.
They would suspend a test subject sideways, spin the wheel, it's about 40 foot in diameter, have them stand on the inner parts there, and as it went 9 revolutions a minute, was about half of Earth's gravity.
That must have been the weirdest experience. It's like a fairground ride on steroids. I would never get on this thing.
Neither NASA nor any other space agency is anywhere near building a spinning spacecraft on the scale of Arowan. What's more, whatever kind of creature might be inside Arowan, it's unlikely that they're anything like us. Neuropsychologist Dr. Janet Kaplan from Brandeis University has been studying the effects of artificial gravity on humans.
So the room is stationary. We're just about to start spinning. Alberto, you can start.
Okay, Jana, we are starting up, going up to speed.
So the room will accelerate to 10 RPM, which is one complete revolution every 6 seconds.
Kaplan's work has highlighted the immense difficulties of creating and surviving artificial gravity. Even walking is hard.
When you make a step, your leg is subject to Coriolis force deviation.
The Coriolis force is a bizarre effect that only happens in rotating environments. It causes straight-line motions to bend. And it's not the only problem humans would face in a spinning craft.
We experience motion sickness. There's confusion. The person is, for all practical purposes, dysfunctional. I would estimate we maybe have 10 more minutes. I feel kind of a cold sweat. I can see the progression of the symptoms. The sweat is now over my whole body.
There's a fine line between how much spinning the human body can tolerate. You start spinning too fast, you're gonna start blowing chunks.
In space, that can be disastrous.
It'll spread around and contaminate the air that you breathe and can cause short circuits in your electronics. It can be extremely dangerous.
Kaplan sets up an experiment to investigate how the Coriolis force can make the simplest task become catastrophically dangerous. The test subject is instructed to repeatedly hit a point in front of them. It's a simple task, but one mistake can cost lives in space.
If I need to push that button, I need to push that button. I can't miss it.
The room spins up to 6 revolutions per minute. Under these alien conditions, the test is repeated.
And start. Keep going. Alberto, can you stop the room?
The results are astonishing. When the room was rotating, the subject missed the spot by over 6 inches. If this was a control panel on a spacecraft, the subject would have pressed the wrong button.
In the beginning, you had a huge error. If you try to push this button and reach here, you're dead.
Humans are some way off mastering artificial gravity. And indeed, although Arowan's 50-mile-an-hour surface spin is fast enough to create gravity, it's not enough gravity for human passengers. If Arowan is some kind of craft, it's manned by beings who are nothing like us. The question is, what are they doing there?
If Arowan is a spacecraft, why is it spinning so slowly? Could it be that what is living on it is not human-like? Could it be that what's on it is not a creature that needs artificial gravity the way that we do?
Alien beings able to operate in a gravity environment as low as this would look very different to us.
It will be a very different body, more like a blob with some tentacles.
So you could have something like your vital organs, the brain, everything's kind of centrally located, and then just squid tentacles, almost like a sea urchin.
And there's good reason for the Arowanites to skulk in the Kuiper Belt, far from the nearest planet.
Given that there are trillions of objects out there in the Kuiper Belt, and they're too far away and too dark for us to really see, if you were an alien that wanted to set up an observation post to study these funky creatures called humans on Earth, that'd be a pretty good place to set it up.
If you're a zero-gravity life form, you want to skirt very cautiously around the planetary zone. Suddenly, places like Earth have become a danger zone, a veritable black hole.
If they tried to walk around on Earth's surface, they would just get mushed. It would not be a good place for them.
As the New Horizons probe moves away from Arowan, it spookily flickers back to life. Whatever happened to New Horizons' computers, it prevented NASA from finding out the truth about the intriguing spinning object. The origin and nature of Arowan remains a mystery.
We don't have any new missions planned to Kuiper Belt at this time. It could be that we are in the dark on what Arowan is for a very long time.
2018, the International Space Station, orbiting 250 miles above our planet, is about to become the first crime scene in space. On board, there's an international crew of 6, including Commander Drew Feustel, one of NASA's most experienced astronauts. He's joined by fellow Americans Richard Arnold and Serena Auñón Chancellor. At the start of Mission Day 88, Feustel receives a chilling message from Mission Control. The space station has been breached.
They're saying the pressure is dropping and it shouldn't be dropping. We have a leak somewhere. Rapid decompression is something we're always worried about, the integrity of the hull. The assumption is always that a hole can only get bigger if you get a rapid decompression. That's your life.
Pressure loss would mean the lungs of Feustel and his crew expand and tear, until finally, just seconds later, they die, either of suffocation or of a massive heart attack.
This is an incredibly tense situation. The astronauts know that their lives are on the line.
A hole has been drilled in the International Space Station. The crew begins a frantic attempt to isolate the leak in the 32,000 cubic foot craft.
Step 1, you go somewhere in the middle of that International Space Station and you close a hatch. And now you look at pressure gauges on each side and you say, well, this one's steady, this one's still sinking. Then they go into a different module, close another door down. Which side of the door is the leak happening?
Finally, the crew isolates the problem to the recently arrived Soyuz capsule. Armed with a pinhole camera, German astronaut Alexander Gerst frantically searches its walls.
Well, it's like finding a needle in a haystack. There are so many places in that space where that leak could be.
He peels out the little decorative covering, and immediately they realize that that's the source of the problem.
Behind a piece of fabric on the aluminum wall of Soyuz, Gerst finds a small round hole, the source of the hull breach. This should be a moment of celebration. Instead, tensions among the astronauts begin to rise.
The reaction from the Russians was to put some epoxy and cover it up, and that would be sufficient to seal the capsule.
But U.S. astronaut Andrew Feustel objects.
Just sort of feel like we got one shot at it. I asked Oleg Sergei to talk to Moscow and sort of request more time or more options. It doesn't sound like they are interested in doing that right now. Unless somebody can put another option on the table, I'm not sure that I can keep them from doing, moving forward with this plan.
It's clear that the two space agencies, NASA and Roscosmos, have very different approaches to solving problems in space. NASA takes the let's unpack it and make sure we understand every detail, and Roscosmos takes the let's fix it and discuss it later approach.
The Russian crew goes to work, fixing the hole with resin and tape. But when Feustel sends images of the hole to NASA, the agency is stunned.
The hole is almost too regular to have been an accident, which means it's man-made, and that is quite shocking.
It's kind of like a guy trying to drill that can't quite, line it up right, scratch, 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 and finally puncture.
When Russia's Roscosmos see the image of an almost perfectly round hole, international relations go into freefall.
So a number of officials in Russia implied that the hole on the Soyuz was drilled deliberately.
Former cosmonaut Maxim Surayev went so far as to suggest that the hole was deliberately created by a mentally unstable crew member.
NASA strenuously defends its crew. But former American astronaut Jerry Linenger claims a rogue spaceman cannot be discounted.
I'll tell you from my own experience, 5 months on a space station that's failing day after day, you have to almost talk to yourself to stay on that even keel. And so when they're thinking of potentially an astronaut intentionally drilled a hole, I think it's worth looking at.
Drills are stored on the ISS, a potential weapon for an unstable crewman with murder in mind.
It's a huge psychological pressure to be in a little can for months. Even the most stable people may become irritated and angry.
Imagine one of your team is trying to kill the crew. It's a terrifying thought.
Claustrophobia and isolation can combine to smash the mind of even the most level-headed astronaut. Scientists are keenly aware of the damage an unstable crew member could inflict. But NASA investigators start to take apart the rogue astronaut theory.
That drilling of that hole is not going to be very quiet. The sensors on the station are going to detect some vibration from the drilling. It's just not credible that the hole was drilled on orbit.
With an astronaut unlikely to be the culprit, investigators turn their attention to suspects on Earth.
If the hole was drilled on the ground, that broadens the possibilities of who might want to be sabotaging the station and who might be at fault.
There's no way Roscosmos would deliberately damage its own spacecraft, leading investigators to ask whether a criminal or terrorist drilled the hole before Soyuz got to the launch pad.
Maybe somebody wanted to sabotage the spacecraft for some other reasons, which can be plenty of. We can come up with all kinds of scenarios.
The questions that come into my mind is, well, if this was a mistake, why didn't the operator stop? Why did the operator continue to drill all the way through the hull? It's going to take some time and effort to drill through all that aluminum.
The fact that there was one hole, and it's great that they fixed that one, but the bigger concern was, how did this happen? Could there be other holes that are there now or that could happen in the near future?
Somewhere on the ground, a space saboteur might remain on the loose. It's a chilling prospect, even for the bravest astronaut.
I would be a little concerned because if somebody deliberately did this, then I would kind of wonder, okay, what else might be wrong with my spacecraft?
June 18th, 2018. President Donald Trump stuns the world with a momentous announcement.
I'm hereby directing the Department of Defense and Pentagon to immediately begin the process necessary to establish a Space Force as the 6th branch of the armed forces.
This is intended to be a new branch of the military with an extraterrestrial component. The question is, who is he expecting to be the enemy? What kind of battle are we preparing for?
President Trump did name the enemies against which Space Force was set up to defend. Certainly there is no shortage of potential future aggressors on Earth.
In 2007, China launched a missile at one of their own defunct satellites, destroying it at over 500 miles up, demonstrating a tremendous show of strength.
The purpose was a military purpose. It was that we're going to see if we can knock this satellite out of the sky, and then we know we can do the same thing to an American satellite.
The new U.S. Space Force is a significant addition to America's current space war capabilities.
An entity has existed for quite a long time that has had, in a sense, domain over issues related to space, outside of NASA's activity, the Air Force Space Command.
Air Force Space Command has 30,000 personnel worldwide and control over satellites, aircraft, radar, anti-missile systems, and orbital launchers. But the new Space Force will be much more. New kinds of vehicles, new kinds of weapons, for a new kind of war, and possibly a new kind of enemy.
The Space Force is coming, and it's most likely to protect us from threats from Earth with the weapons pointed backwards at Earth. But is it possible that they might need to be pointing outwards as well?
Could the president have some kind of information that's driving the urgency to launch our defenses before it's too late?
Space Force. Analysts want to know why the U.S. president launches a new space branch of the military. Some point to a dire warning given by genius astrophysicist Stephen Hawking to the governments of the world just 2 years before Space Force was formally announced.
He was concerned that any spacefaring aliens might be predatory nomads or bent on conquering worlds for resources.
He cautioned that the messages and signals we have sent out into the cosmos over the last 50 years as we searched for alien life could invite a lethal response.
Stephen Hawking was actually very worried about this. He felt like we shouldn't be casting signals out into the darkness because there may be other species out there who will see our beacon and wipe us out in one way or another.
If President Trump is concerned about a threat from beyond the planet, he wouldn't be the first to consider the risk.
While Ronald Reagan was flying an airplane one time, he believed that he saw some kind of spacecraft.
Jimmy Carter was probably the most outspoken about it. He wanted to go to Area 51 and see what was there. He believed he saw a UFO.
It's even said that in 1974, then head of the CIA, George H.W. Bush, informed President Jerry Ford that the existence of extraterrestrials was on a need-to-know basis.
And that's the scary part about it. George Bush didn't deny that there were UFOs. He simply said, I'm not going to tell you because you don't need to know. It's beyond your top secret clearance.
So what about President Trump? On July 20th, 1952, Air Force radar picks up a series of unidentified lights in the sky. Terrified witnesses describe strange craft flying over the Capitol in what becomes known as the invasion of Washington. Jets scramble to intercept the mysterious vessels, but they're easily outrun. Meanwhile, in New York City, just 1 mile from the Trump family home, bright and menacing circular lights are seen hovering over the streets.
There were UFOs over Donald Trump's own neighborhood. Might that be the stimulus for President Trump's wanting a Space Force?
Space Force could be the first line of defense in the event of an attack from space.
What if we were being invaded from another star system? Well, we would at least have a foothold now in space. We could fight them in space and not on our planet.
America is well placed to build Space Force an awesome arsenal. Laser-armed satellites could provide defense, while the orbit-capable X-37B could evolve into a deadly combat spacefighter. But there is no guarantee an extraterrestrial attack would follow any rules of conventional war.
There are all sorts of ways to invade a planet. You could send superbugs on micrometeorites into the atmosphere. You could just send giant asteroids at the planet. But if you wanted the planet for a reason, then you just wanted to exterminate the people there, then you would have to show up with a ground force to hold the territory.
If Trump's Space Force fails to safeguard the planet and aliens land, is there a backup plan in place to fight them on our own turf? If the Pentagon has plans for such a scenario, they remain classified.
Let's assume it's some big mothership shows up and there's an all-out attack on the planet.
Any civilization that's able to cross light years of space is going to be so far ahead of us that it would be ludicrous to think that we could defend against it. You know, it would be like a Stone Age tribe going against an F-35.
If the arsenal fails to repel the aliens and they make it to Earth, experts warn that humanity would have little chance in a conventional battle against a technologically advanced aggressor from another world.
If we were invaded by any aliens who had enough technology to cross the galaxy with their forces, I would think they could take out Space Force in a minute. They could take out all of the world's industrial military complexes.
But all may not be lost. Cutting-edge technology does not always guarantee victory, as U.S. forces learned in Vietnam and Soviet forces discovered in Afghanistan.
The only way to fight against such high tech would be low tech. Maybe it would turn into small pockets of humanity having a guerrilla war.
The ability of individuals and small groups to survive and fight back could make them the last line of defense against any planetary invasion.
Now, what we would have to hope to do is to dig in and have some of us survive the initial attack. And then what we do is end up fighting an asymmetric war where we're the insurgents and the rebels.
America keeps its defense plans closely guarded. But one thing that is not a secret, in the event of a catastrophic strike, what remains of government would relocate to the Raven Rock Mountain Complex. From this subterranean base, commanders will attempt to coordinate what's left of the military, militias, and individuals as they wage a resistance guerrilla fight back.
The concept of humanity being invaded by an advanced alien race, it's terrifying, but there is a possibility that we could survive.
The more we humans venture into space, the more attention we're likely to attract from whatever's out there. But some say it's a journey we need to make.
We want to go and find what's out there before it comes to find us.
November 26th, 1922, Egypt. The ancient civilization of the pharaohs is being rediscovered from beneath the desert sands. Its treasures are so magnificent, many are speculating whether its monumental constructions were the work of men or of gods from the stars. In the Valley of the Kings, the famous archaeologist Howard Carter breaks the seal to a 3,200-year-old royal tomb. As he passes a candle inside, he realizes this will be one of the greatest discoveries in history.
Someone says to him, "What do you see inside?" And as he peers through into the darkness, the beam of light falling upon the glittering objects within, he says, "Wonderful things."
They came to find over 3,000 artifacts in there, many made of solid gold. Incredible craftsmanship. It had to have taken his breath away. These were riches beyond belief.
But the most incredible object in the tomb is in a second room, hidden deep in the chamber.
So in the tomb, there's a room called the Treasury. And within this room, Carter discovered a box made of ebony and ivory.
And inside this box, they found a necklace that had different symbols on it. And then in the center of the necklace, there is this beautiful scarab.
This scarab is not made of gold like so many of the artifacts are. It's made of a very unusual yellow gemstone, something that is not readily recognizable.
Was it man-made? Was it natural? Did it have some kind of other origin that scientists at that point couldn't imagine? They just didn't know.
In the 3,200-year-old tomb of King Tut, Egyptologists uncover a jewel made of a rare cosmic substance. For the ancient Egyptians, a gemstone carved into the shape of a scarab is a powerful symbol. Desert scarabs are sacred creatures, and they possess an intimate connection to the workings of space.
In the Egyptian mythology, the scarab is associated with Ra, the sun god.
The ancient Egyptians believe Ra is guided across the heavens each day by Khepri, a god represented as a scarab. When scientists analyze the scarab jewel, they make an extraordinary discovery that connects it to the celestial world.
It's glass, but it's no ordinary glass.
Cobalt and iridium were found, which are rare trace elements. They're not found very often on Earth.
This mysterious object, which the Egyptians believed to be connected to this celestial being, actually does come from the heavens.
The ancient pharaoh's obsession with space could be a clue to the jewel's origin.
In addition to being great mathematicians and engineers, the ancient Egyptians were also great astronomers.
The Egyptians associate the constellations with their gods, and it is said build the greatest monuments on Earth to align with the belt of Orion and the pole star.
There is absolutely no coincidence as to where the pyramids are placed, how they are oriented. These are precise calculations, and somebody had to have remarkable knowledge.
One has to wonder, how did they come about this knowledge?
The Egyptians build stone circles to chart the stars. And most incredibly, on a ceiling in an ancient temple, they construct the mysterious Dendera zodiac, an astrological disk used by priests, but featuring remarkably accurate astronomical information.
The Egyptians had a strong affinity for outer space. So what powers did they think that this gem possessed, and why did they think that it possessed those powers?
For years, the origin of the jewel remains a mystery. But then, explorers make a discovery. Glass fragments matching the necklace are found, scattered across an area deep inside the Libyan desert, several hundred miles from King Tut's tomb.
It's found over an area about the size of New York City, so spread over a pretty considerable area.
The glass has the same basic composition as the surrounding sandstone and sand. So now we have to think of a scenario under which we could take the material that's out there and fuse it. What does it require? It requires heat.
But it doesn't make sense. The Libyan desert is one of the hottest deserts on Earth, with midday temperatures soaring to 136 degrees Fahrenheit. But to make this gem would require 3,000 degrees of heat, a heat that some scientists believe can only have come from space.
There is a theory that this glass was formed by a meteor impact, that when it hit the Earth, it superheated the sand and turned it to glass. This rare glass is literally born from the materials of space.
But again, things don't add up. There doesn't appear to have been any meteor strike here.
The region where the glass is found doesn't have evidence of a crater. The only evidence is the existence of this glass. So what exactly is the process that led to it being there?
Scientists are trying to establish the origin of a mysterious jewel found in a pharaoh's tomb. There's a possible clue when in 2013, a powerful explosion lights up the skies above Chelyabinsk, Russia. It's a meteor, but there's no impact.
Not every meteor that comes to Earth and enters Earth's atmosphere actually hits the ground. A lot of them blow up in the air. As the meteor travels through Earth's atmosphere, on the front side, the pressure is really high. On the back side, the pressure is really low. And this pressure differential creates huge forces on the meteor that can cause it to just explode. And we call those an airburst.
The Chelyabinsk meteor is 66 feet across. NASA believes that a larger piece of space debris, like a comet, would explode in the atmosphere with far greater power. Perhaps, just perhaps, creating enough heat to fuse desert sands into tough glass. There is no direct evidence of a comet exploding over Egypt, at least until 2013.
And it came in the form of a little black pebble. And by analyzing that pebble and its chemical composition, it was determined that the origin of the pebble was what? A comet.
NASA scientists believe the jewel at the center of King Tut's necklace might have been created by one of the most terrifying events in history. A comet, hundreds of feet across, exploding in the atmosphere above the Sahara. An event eerily similar to a description recorded in an ancient Egyptian scroll.
One of the papyrus scrolls that archaeologists have found speaks of a circle of fire in the sky, and this sounds a lot like an intense, energetic explosion coming from outer space.
This terrifying blast from space would have been invested with great religious significance. The Scarab god Capri, pushing the great sun god Ra down to Earth.
It's interesting that the Egyptians carved this glass into the shape of a scarab, because had any humans been around when this airburst occurred, it would have looked like a second sun in the sky. So, way to go, Egyptians.
Human ingenuity has enriched our lives beyond the wildest imagination of our ancestors. There seems little we will not be able to do at some point in the future. But could we possibly survive the end of the universe?
Some people think we can escape the planet if there's an imminent doom here. Some people think we can escape the solar system when the sun ceases to exist. Some even think we can escape our galaxy. But escaping the universe?
Before NASA scientists forge their plan to save humanity, they must first work out how the universe might end.
Will the universe end in fire or ice? Which is it? Well, sorry to say, we're not sure.
Right now, the universe is expanding. The spaces between the galaxies are getting bigger.
The fate of the universe has to do with what happens in this expanding situation.
Is that going to slow down? Is it going to speed up?
Some scientists believe that gravity will assert itself, and the epic expansion of the universe will begin to reverse.
Like a ball that you throw up and then it starts to fall down, the universe expands out and then it starts to collapse back in faster and faster and faster.
It's been called the Big Crunch, and for humans, it would mean a cataclysmic end.
Over time, the night sky would get brighter and brighter as space itself contracted and shrank and objects came closer together. Galaxies, eventually stars. We would be reduced to a primordial atom.
The vast expanse of creation, released in the Big Bang, reduced again to nothing. But what if this doesn't happen? What if the universe just keeps expanding?
The best data today indicates that the universe is not only expanding, it's accelerating. It's careening out of control. If this goes on forever, we're gonna have a big rip.
Ultimately, space could expand so fast that the galaxies get ripped apart, planets, stars get ripped apart, your atoms get pulled apart, and then space itself is ripped apart.
Humans would be condemned to watching powerlessly from Earth as the stars disappear from the sky, and as our own star, the Earth itself, and all life is consumed and extinguished in utter darkness. But the human species won't give up without a fight, and scientists are already speculating about the ultimate escape plan.
Is it possible that we could evade the death of everything?
One day, the universe will face annihilation. Amazingly, scientists have already discovered a possible emergency exit. April 2010, mathematical physicist Roger Penrose is studying the cosmic background radiation, the oldest light in the universe.
The cosmic microwave background radiation is light that's left over from the very earliest days of the universe. And it's been traveling through space ever since.
The radiation is like a window to the distant past, allowing Penrose to see how galaxies have formed over time.
We see a picture of the universe as it was when it was only 380,000 years old, compared to the current 13 or 14 billion years.
Gazing out on the dawn of our universe, Penrose discovers something startling and unexpected.
Roger Penrose thinks he sees swirls in the microwave background that might be, in a sense, the shadow of a universe that preceded our Big Bang.
If this idea is correct, it suggests that the universe itself could be cyclic in nature.
It's like the universe starts again. We reset the clock, We're back to the beginning, the dawn of time.
Some astronomers believe we may have found an escape route. Humanity can survive the end of our universe if we work out a way to rejoin the beginning of the next.
This is like the ultimate doomsday prepping, but you're gonna need more than a few cans of beans and some gas masks.
The end of the universe may be far in our future, but we're still in a race against time. Scientists believe that mankind must evolve to what physicists call a Type 3 technological civilization to build the tech needed to escape annihilation.
A Type 1 civilization is planetary. They harness planetary energy. For example, they can play with the weather. They can play with volcanoes. They control planetary energy like Buck Rogers or Flash Gordon. We are maybe 100 years from becoming Type 1.
Next, to become a Type 2 civilization, mankind must venture beyond our planet.
Star Trek would be a typical Type 2 civilization capable of harnessing the power of an entire star system.
But to escape the end of the universe, we must advance further still.
If we grow exponentially at about 3% per year, for a million years, we'll become Type 3, like Star Wars. The ability to harness the power of a galaxy.
Humans will look very different in a million years' time. But with such awesome power, they may finally be able to escape the end of the universe. They'll use technology far beyond anything we have today.
Our descendants will have to build a cosmic oven, which will create a baby universe, an interdimensional lifeboat.
Physicists theorize they could grow a baby universe by superheating a single particle in a giant oven, similar to the Large Hadron Collider.
Heated up to tremendous temperatures, 10 to the 19 billion electron volts, and then bubbles begin to form. Baby bubbles, each one representing a baby universe.
Rather than growing the baby universe in our own universe, scientists would bend space-time to create a separate region of space for us to travel to through a wormhole.
It'll sort of be like the Noah's Ark, but instead of escaping the flood, you're escaping the end of the universe.
We will be so advanced that we will be able to conquer the powers of space and time to create our own progeny, another universe.
An artificial universe, designed and built by the most ingenious humans in history, might be just the place to stay while we wait for a new natural universe to be born.
If this escape occurs, we could be like sitting there and seeing the entire thing happen. It will be quite powerful and beautiful.
We would have front row seats at the death of the universe and at the birth of a new universe. So you'd really kind of two shows for the price of one.
Might be a good place to build a restaurant.